Good morning, friends. Once again, I welcome you all to this e-learning platform of KTHM College. In today's session, we are going to have a look at the summary and analysis of Chapter 2nd and Chapter 3rd of Animal Farm by George Orwell. Now we'll have a look at the summary of Chapter 2. After the death of Old Major, the animals spend their days secretly planning the rebellion, although they are unsure when it will occur. Because of their intelligence, the pigs are placed in charge of educating the animals about animalism, the name they give to the philosophy expounded by Major in chapter 1st. Among the pigs, Snowball and Napoleon are the most important to the revolution. Despite Molly's concern and Ribbins and Moss's tales of a place called Sugar Candy Mountain, the pigs are successful in conveying the principles of animalism to the others. The rebellion occurs when Jones again falls into a drunken sleep and neglects to feed the animals who break into the store shed in search of a meal. When Jones and his men arrive, they begin whipping the animals but soon find themselves being attacked and chased off the farm. The triumphant animals then destroy all traces of Jones, eat heartily, and revel in their newfound freedom. After a tour of Jones' house, they decide to leave it untouched as a museum. Snowball changes the sign reading Manor Farm to Animal Farm and paints the 7 commandments of animalism on the wall of the barn. The cows then give 5 buckets of milk, which Napoleon steals. Now, this is the summary of chapter 2. Now, we'll have the analysis of chapter 2. The death of Old Major marks the moment when the animals must begin to put his theory into practice. For the remainder of the novel, Orwell depicts the ever-widening gulf between the vision expounded by Old Major and the animals' attempt to realize it. The names of the pigs chosen to lead the revolution reveal their personalities. Snowball's name suits the revolution in general, which snowballs and grows until, at the novel's end, the animal rulers completely resemble their previous masters. Napoleon's name suggests his stern leadership style. He has a reputation for getting his own way, and of course, his incredible lust for power, which becomes more pronounced with each chapter. Squealer, as his name suggests, becomes the mouthpiece of the pigs. His habit of skipping from side to side while arguing some difficult point dramatizes in a physical way what the smooth talking pig will later do in a rhetorical sense. Every time he is faced with a question or objection, he will skip around the topic using convoluted logic to prove his point. In short, he eventually serves as Napoleon's Minister of Propaganda. Like all patriots and revolutionaries, Snowball is earnest and determined to win as many converts to his cause as he can. 2 animals, however, momentarily fluster him. Molly's concern over sugar and ribbons is offensive to Snowball because he, as a proponent of animalism, urges his fellow beasts to sacrifice their luxury. To him, Molly is a shallow materialist, concerned only with her own image and comforts. Like Molly, Moses proves irksome to Snowball because Moses fills the heads of the animals with tales of sugar candy mountains. What Snowball and the rest of the animals fail to recognize is that Sugar Candy Mountain, a paradise, is as attainable a place as a farm wholly devoted to the principles of animalism. As the biblical Moses led his people out of bondage and into the promised land, Moses the raven only offers a story about an obviously fictitious place. The fact that the animals are so willing to believe him reveals their wish for a utopia that in the sky or on the farm will never be found. Thus, Moses is the novel's religious figure, but is strictly ironic sense, but in a strictly ironic sense, since Orwell never implies that Moses' stories better the animal's condition. As Karl Marx famously said, religion is the opium of the people, an idea shown in the animal's acceptance of Moses' tales. Once the animals rebel and drive Jones from the farm, they behave as a conquering army, retaking its own land and freeing it from the yoke of oppression. All the symbols of Jones' reign, nose rings, dog chains, knives, are tossed into a celebratory bonfire. More important is that the animals attempt to create their own sense of history and tradition by preserving Jones' house as a museum. Presumably, future animals will visit the house to learn of the terrible luxury in which humans once lived, but like Sugar Candy Mountain, this world where all animals study their oppressors instead of becoming them is a fantasy. Similarly, the renaming of Manor Farm to Animal Farm suggests the animals triumph over their enemy. By renaming the farm, they assume that they will change the kind of place it has become. Another example of their optimism and innocence. The seven commandments of animalism, like the biblical Ten Commandments, are an attempt to completely codify the animal's behavior to comply with a system of morality. Like the Ten Commandments, the seven commandments are direct and straightforward, leaving no room for interpretation or qualification. The fact that they are painted in great white letters on the side of the barn suggests the animal's desire to make these laws permanent, as the permanence of the Ten Commandments is suggested by their being engraved on stone tablets. Of course, like the Ten Commandments, the seven commandments are bound to be broken and bound to be toyed with by those looking for a loophole to excuse their wrongdoing. The chapter's final episode, involving the buckets of milk, hints at the ruthlessness Napoleon will display as the novel progresses. One of the hens suggests that the milk be put into the animal's mash so that all can enjoy it, an animalistic thought to be sure, since the seventh commandment of animalism states that all animals are equal. Note that Napoleon, however, places himself in front of the buckets and sends Snowball to lead the animals to the harvest. Already, the reader can sense the boar's greed and betrayal of the most basic law of animalism. Napoleon is using the patriotism and drive of the other animals for his own purposes, which initially involve gaining as much control over the farm's food as he can. In the next session, we are going to have the summary and analysis of chapter 3. Thank you.